The price of a quick decision. Samantha had always prided herself on being decisive. As a senior buyer for a global retail chain, she was responsible for selecting products that would be sold in stores across multiple countries. Her company expected quick decisions, and she was known for making them confidently. One morning, while attending a trade fair in Hong Kong, Samantha came across a manufacturer offering high-quality leather handbags at a remarkably low price. The supplier, Mr. Lee, explained that they had an excess inventory due to a cancelled order, so they were willing to sell at a significant discount. Samantha knew that if she waited too long, another buyer might snatch up the deal. Without conducting a thorough background check, she placed an order for 20,000 bags. Back at the office in New York, Samantha proudly presented the deal to her team. The numbers looked great. The company would make a substantial profit. However, a few weeks later, when the shipment arrived, the excitement quickly faded. The handbags looked beautiful from a distance, but on closer inspection, the stitching was uneven and the leather was of poor quality. Worse, some bags had a strong chemical odor, making them unsellable. Samantha panicked. She immediately tried to contact Mr. Lee, but his phone number was disconnected, and his website had vanished. Her team launched an investigation and discovered that Mr. Lee's company had been blacklisted by several other retailers for supplying low-quality goods. If Samantha had taken even a day to research, she would have found multiple warnings about dealing with his company. The mistake cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Samantha had no choice but to take responsibility. She apologized to the management team and worked tirelessly to minimize the losses. Some bags were repurposed into promotional giveaways, while others were sold at a heavy discount to clearance stores. The experience was painful, but it taught her a lesson she would never forget. In business, speed is important, but due diligence is essential. The silent competitor. Daniel had worked at Novatech, a mid-sized software company, for nearly 5 years. As the head of product development, he was responsible for keeping their products innovative and competitive. Their flagship product, a project management app, had been performing well, with steady growth in users. One morning, during a routine sales meeting, Daniel's colleague Emma mentioned something unusual. "I spoke to a client yesterday, and they said they're switching to a new app called FlashSync. They claim it's cheaper and offers better integrations." Daniel frowned. He had never heard of FlashSync. Curious, he did a quick search and found a small startup that had launched just a year ago. Their product had many of the same features as Novatech's, but with a modern interface and AI-powered automation. The most concerning part, their pricing was 20% lower. Daniel immediately called for a team meeting. "How did we miss this?" he asked. The marketing team admitted they had been focused on their usual competitors and hadn't paid attention to smaller startups. The product team had also been prioritizing internal roadmaps without researching new market trends. By the time Novatech realized the threat, it was too late. FlashSync had already captured several of their biggest clients. Word spread quickly, and within a few months, Novatech sales started to decline. Determined to turn things around, Daniel and his team went into crisis mode. They conducted urgent customer interviews to understand why people were switching. Clients loved FlashSync's AI-powered features and affordability, two things Novatech had neglected. With this insight, Daniel rushed to adapt. His team worked day and night to introduce AI-based automation, improve the user experience, and create a competitive pricing model. They also launched a massive marketing campaign, positioning Novatech as a trusted brand that was evolving with new technology. After 6 months of intense effort, they stabilized their customer base. While they lost some clients to Flowsync, they regained market confidence by proving they could adapt. Daniel had learned a crucial business lesson: never underestimate small competitors. They grow quietly until one day they are no longer small. The cost of ignoring feedback. Mia had always believed in her business instincts. As the founder and CEO of Pure Brew, a specialty coffee brand, she had built the company from the ground up. Her premium coffee blends were sold in hundreds of supermarkets and had a loyal customer base. When a new trend emerged, ready-to-drink cold brew coffee, Mia saw an opportunity. Her team conducted a market survey, and the results were promising. Customers wanted a convenient, high-quality cold brew option. Confident in the demand, Mia rushed the product to market. The launch started well. The sleek bottle design and premium branding attracted attention. Sales were strong in the first 2 months, but then something unexpected happened. Sales dropped sharply. Mia was puzzled. Her marketing team had done everything right. They had influencer campaigns, in-store promotions, and even an online subscription option. But customers were not repurchasing the product. Determined to find the issue, Mia's team analyzed the data and found hundreds of online reviews, most of them negative. The coffee is too bitter. The bottle looks great, but the taste is disappointing. I wanted to love this, but the flavor is too strong. Mia had ignored the most crucial part of the survey: taste preferences. The initial research had shown that while customers wanted cold brew, they preferred a smoother, less bitter flavor. However, in the rush to launch, Mia had assumed that stronger coffee meant higher quality. Realizing the mistake, she quickly called an emergency meeting. "We need to fix this, fast," she told her team. They worked closely with food scientists to adjust the brewing process, creating a smoother, more balanced cold brew. Mia personally reached out to dissatisfied customers, offering them a chance to try the improved version for free. The new formula was a success. Sales rebounded, and Pure Brew's reputation was restored. However, the mistake had caused months of lost revenue and damaged brand trust. Mia learned a hard but valuable lesson. Listening to customers is more important than trusting your instincts alone. The dangerous shortcut. James had always been a results-driven manager. As the head of logistics at SwiftMove, a growing e-commerce delivery company, his job was to ensure that packages reached customers on time and at minimal cost. One day, his boss called him into a meeting. "James, our delivery costs are too high. We need to cut expenses by at least 10% this quarter." James nodded confidently. He had already identified a solution: outsourcing to a cheaper third-party delivery service. A small company called QuickDrop had recently entered the market, offering rates that were 30% lower than SwiftMove's current partners. James saw it as an easy win. The contracts were signed, and within a month, QuickDrop took over a large portion of deliveries. At first, everything seemed fine. Costs were down, and James was praised for his efficiency. But soon, complaints started flooding in. "My package arrived 3 days late. The delivery driver was rude and unprofessional. My parcel was left outside in the rain and got ruined." James dismissed the complaints as minor issues. But when a major corporate client cancelled their contract, his boss called him in again, this time with a serious expression. "James, we've lost 3 key clients because of QuickDrop's service. What's going on?" James investigated and was shocked at what he found. QuickDrop was cutting corners using untrained drivers, skipping quality checks, and delivering late to save fuel costs. By prioritizing short-term savings over service quality, James had put Swiftmove's reputation at risk. Realizing his mistake, James immediately ended the contract with QuickDrop and worked overtime to repair relationships with clients. He negotiated better terms with reliable delivery partners and introduced a stricter vetting process for future outsourcing decisions. The crisis had been avoidable, but James learned a powerful lesson. A cheap solution that damages your reputation is the most expensive mistake you make. The power of a simple apology. Rachel had always been proud of her company's customer-first philosophy. As the co-founder of Freshness, an eco-friendly home goods brand, she believed that happy customers were the key to success. One day, an unexpected issue threatened that reputation. A new batch of their bamboo kitchenware had been shipped to customers. But within days, complaints started pouring in. The cutting board cracked after one use. My wooden spoons arrived with splinters. Terrible quality, nothing like my previous orders. Rachel's customer service team was overwhelmed. Some employees suggested offering discount codes to unhappy customers. Others proposed ignoring the complaints, assuming that only a small percentage of customers were affected. Rachel wasn't convinced. She knew that a bad reputation could spread faster than a good one. Instead of hiding from the issue, she decided to face it head-on. She personally wrote an open letter to customers, admitting the mistake. "We take full responsibility. A manufacturing error caused defects in this batch. If you received a faulty product, we will replace it for free, no questions asked." She also instructed her team to call every single affected customer to apologize. The response was unexpected. Instead of damaging Freshness' reputation, Rachel's honesty made customers trust the brand even more. "I've never seen a company own up to a mistake like this. They actually called me. That's real customer service. I was disappointed at first, but now I respect them even more." In the following months, Freshness sales increased. Customers shared their positive experiences online, praising Rachel's integrity. Rachel had learned something valuable. A mistake won't destroy your business, but how you handle it will define your brand. The client they took for granted. Lucas had been a sales executive at Brightic Solutions for 5 years. He was known for closing big deals and winning new clients. But there was one client he never worried about: GreenWave, a mid-sized energy company that had been with them since the beginning. GreenWave always renewed their contract without complaints. They weren't the biggest client, but their steady orders made them valuable. Over time, Lucas stopped paying attention to them. While he took new clients to expensive dinners, he ignored GreenWave's emails and let his assistant handle their small requests. One morning, Lucas received an unexpected email from GreenWave's CEO. "We've decided to switch to a new supplier. Thank you for your past service." Lucas was shocked. He immediately called his contact at GreenWave, but the response was cold. "Lucas, we've been with you 4 years, but lately, we feel invisible. The new supplier actually listens to us." Lucas rushed to set up a meeting. He offered discounts, promised better service, and even arranged a lunch with Brightic's CEO. But GreenWave had already signed a 3-year contract with the competitor. It was too late. At the next sales meeting, Lucas shared his experience with the team. "We're always chasing new clients, but we forget the ones who keep us in business. I learned it the hard way that loyalty isn't permanent, you have to earn it every day." From that moment, Brightic prioritized existing clients as much as new ones. Lucas personally checked in with every long-term customer, making sure they felt valued. The lesson was clear. The easiest client to lose is the one you take for granted. The expensive hiring mistake. Sophie was the HR director at Nexicorp, a fast-growing tech startup. As the company expanded, she needed to hire a new marketing manager, someone who could handle international campaigns and help Nexicorp break into global markets. A month into the search, Sophie met David, a confident candidate with an impressive resume. He had worked for well-known brands and spoke 3 languages. During the interview, he answered every question perfectly, showing deep knowledge of marketing strategies. The CEO was impressed. Sophie, hire him before another company does. Sophie had one concern: David had changed jobs every year. But under pressure to fill the position quickly, she ignored the red flag and offered him the job. At first, David seemed like a great fit. He spoke well in meetings, presented big ideas, and made ambitious plans. But soon, problems started appearing. He missed deadlines, but always had an excuse. He took credit for other employees' work. He demanded a personal assistant after only 2 months. By the 3rd month, Sophie started hearing rumors David was actively applying for new jobs. She confronted him, and he admitted he was considering other offers. A month later, he resigned, leaving Nexicorp scrambling to find a replacement. Sophie was embarrassed. She had rushed the hiring process and ignored clear warning signs. The mistake cost the company 6 months of lost productivity and thousands of dollars in training and onboarding costs. From then on, Sophie followed a strict rule. A bad hire is more expensive than an empty position. Take your time, hire right. The social media disaster. Olivia was the head of marketing at Trendwear, a fashion brand known for its trendy and affordable clothing. She had built the company's social media presence from scratch, attracting millions of followers with engaging content and influencer collaborations. One day, her team launched a new ad campaign featuring a stylish winter coat. The ad showed a model walking through the streets of Paris, wearing the coat with confidence. The caption read, "Luxury look, budget price because elegance shouldn't cost a fortune." Within hours, the post had hundreds of comments, but instead of praise, they were filled with angry complaints. Why is this coat labeled affordable? It's over $300. Do you even know your customers? This is not budget friendly. Unfollowing. I used to love this brand, but this is insulting. Olivia panicked. The marketing team had failed to consider that their usual customers were young professionals and students who couldn't afford a $300 coat. Instead of positioning it as a premium product, they had called it budget, alienating their audience. The backlash worsened when a fashion blogger made a viral post criticizing the ad. Within a day, the hashtag out of touch brand was trending. Realizing the mistake, Olivia acted quickly. She posted an apology, admitting the miscommunication and promising to be more thoughtful in the future. She also launched a discount campaign for the coat, making it more accessible. Slowly, the brand regained trust, but it took weeks of damage control. From that day on, Olivia made sure every campaign went through a focus group before launch. The lesson was clear. One careless message can destroy years of trust. Always know your audience. The high-profile deal that fell apart. Ethan had spent months working on the biggest deal of his career. As a senior sales executive at Global Tech Solutions, he had been negotiating with Zenith Corp, a multinational company looking for a long-term software partner. If he closed the deal, it would be worth millions and would cement his reputation within the company. From the very beginning, Ethan put his full effort into the deal. He studied Zenith Corp's business needs, conducted detailed product demonstrations, and even arranged a customized trial version of Global Tech software for their team. He built a strong relationship with Mr. Chen, Zenith's procurement director, exchanging countless emails and holding multiple Zoom meetings. After weeks of discussions, Mr. Chen finally agreed to a face-to-face meeting at Zenith's headquarters in Singapore to finalize the contract. Ethan flew in a day early, feeling confident. He had prepared every possible argument, rehearsed answers to tough questions, and even researched the best negotiation tactics. On the day of the meeting, he was led into a spacious conference room, where Mr. Chen and 3 other executives were waiting. "Ethan, we appreciate all the effort you've put into this proposal," Mr. Chen said. "Your software is an excellent fit for us. However, before we sign, we'd like to discuss the final terms." Ethan nodded, expecting this. Zenith Corp had asked for a small price reduction, and Ethan had already prepared a counteroffer with a 5% discount. But then, Mr. Chen's expression changed. "We've received another offer from your competitor, Nexusoft. They're giving us a 10% lower price and an extended service warranty. Can you match that?" Ethan hesitated. He hadn't expected such aggressive competition. He had assumed that Zenith Corp was only negotiating with his company. He had spent so much time focusing on product value that he hadn't considered the possibility of a last-minute pricing war. He tried to buy time. "Let me check with my team," he said, reaching for his phone. Mr. Chen shook his head. "Ethan, we need an answer now. If you can't match their offer, we'll have to go with Nexusoft." Ethan's mind raced. If he agreed on the spot, he might secure the deal. But he had no approval from his company to offer such a discount. If he refused, he might lose the contract entirely. Taking a deep breath, he said, "I understand your position, but we can't go that low without compromising our service quality. What I can offer is..." Before he could finish, Mr. Chen stood up. "Ethan, I respect your honesty, but we can't ignore a better deal. Thank you for your time." The meeting was over. Ethan had lost the contract. Back at the office, his boss was frustrated, but not surprised. "Ethan, this is a tough lesson, but in big deals, you always need a backup plan. Never assume you're the only option." Ethan spent the next few months analyzing his mistake. He learned that while building relationships and demonstrating value were important, he should have also monitored the competition more closely and prepared alternative offers for pricing negotiations. The lesson was clear. In business, confidence is important, but never assume you're the only choice. The CEO who wouldn't listen. Michael leaned back in his chair, glancing at the charts his team had just presented. Sales had dipped slightly, but he wasn't concerned. Vision Tech, the company he had built from the ground up, was still profitable. His instincts had guided the company to success for the past 10 years, and he saw no reason to change course now. "Our customers love our software," he said confidently. "We don't need to jump on every new trend." His chief technology officer, Emily, exchanged a glance with the other executives. "Michael, it's not just a trend," she insisted. "More businesses are moving to cloud-based solutions. If we don't offer a subscription-based model, we'll start losing customers." Michael shook his head. "We sell premium software. Businesses trust us because we don't force them into subscriptions. Besides, our biggest clients haven't complained." Emily sighed. She had worked with Michael for years and admired his vision, but she could see the market shifting. Startups offering cloud-based analytics tools were attracting smaller companies that couldn't afford Vision Tech's expensive licenses. Over the next year, small signs of trouble started appearing. First, a few long-time clients requested cloud-based options. Michael brushed it off, telling his sales team to convince them that Vision Tech's existing model was superior. Then, sales numbers started slipping. It was a small drop at first, nothing alarming. Michael blamed it on temporary market fluctuations. Then came Cloudlytics, a fast-growing startup offering a cloud-based analytics platform at a fraction of Vision Tech's cost. At first, Michael barely noticed them. They were a young company, and he believed serious businesses wouldn't trust an unproven competitor. One morning, Emily walked into his office, her face tense. "Michael, we just lost another major client. They switched to Cloudlytics." Michael frowned. "Who? One of the small ones?" She shook her head. "No, it's Sterling Enterprises." Michael sat up. Sterling had been a loyal client for 8 years. Losing them wasn't just about revenue, it was about reputation. Over the next few months, more clients left. Michael finally realized the seriousness of the situation. He called an emergency meeting and announced that Vision Tech would begin developing its own cloud-based version. But it was too late. Cloudlytics had already dominated the market. Their name had become synonymous with innovation. By the time Vision Tech launched its own cloud solution, customers had moved on. The company struggled to recover, and Michael found himself fighting to stay relevant in an industry he had once led. Sitting alone in his office one evening, he finally admitted to himself what he had refused to see before. He had ignored the warning signs, dismissed his team's advice, and assumed success would last forever without adapting. Success isn't about always being right, he thought. It's about adapting before it's too late. The supplier who almost ruined everything. Noah had spent years building Tastecraft, a premium organic snack brand. His products were sold in hundreds of stores, and he had recently secured a deal with a major supermarket chain to expand nationwide. It was the biggest opportunity of his career, and if everything went smoothly, it would take Tastecraft to the next level. But there was a problem. His usual supplier for organic almonds, a key ingredient in his best-selling granola bars, suddenly doubled their prices due to a global supply shortage. If Noah accepted the price increase, his profit margins would shrink significantly. If he didn't, he risked missing the supermarket deadline. His operations manager, Leah, had an idea. "There's a new supplier offering the same almonds at a much lower price. I've checked their certifications, they seem legitimate." Noah hesitated. He had never worked with them before, but with time running out, he approved the deal without deeper research. 3 weeks later, the first shipment arrived. At first glance, the almonds looked fine. The production team used them to make the latest batch of granola bars, which were then packed and sent to supermarkets across the country. 2 days later, the calls started coming in. "There's something wrong with your bars," a store manager complained. "Customers are saying they taste bitter." More complaints followed. Some customers even posted on social media, saying they had gotten sick after eating the bars. Panic set in. Noah immediately sent the almonds for testing. The results were a nightmare. The new supplier had mislabeled their stock, and the almonds contained traces of a pesticide that wasn't permitted in organic products. Noah had no choice but to recall thousands of granola bars, a move that cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Worse, the supermarket chain was furious. "We trusted you," their executive said. "If this happens again, we'll cut your contract." That night, Noah sat in his office, exhausted. He had taken a shortcut to save money, but it had nearly destroyed his reputation. The next day, he set a new rule. No matter how urgent the situation, we never compromise on quality. He also established a stricter vetting process for suppliers, ensuring no ingredient entered production without thorough testing. It took months to rebuild customer trust, but Noah knew he had learned a lesson he would never forget. A cheap solution today can become an expensive disaster tomorrow. The employee they almost lost. Sophia had been working at Luminate Consulting for 3 years, steadily proving herself as one of the most reliable project managers on the team. She handled difficult clients with ease, met tight deadlines without complaint, and always stepped in to help junior employees when needed. But no one seemed to notice. Her manager, Daniel, was always focused on winning new clients and managing crises. He rarely acknowledged her work, assuming that since Sophia never complained, she was happy with her role. She received no bonuses, no promotions, and no recognition, just more responsibility. One evening, as Daniel was leaving the office, he passed Sophia's desk and saw her packing up personal items. Moving to a new desk, he asked casually. Sophia hesitated before answering. "Actually, I'm leaving, Daniel. I just accepted an offer from Orion Consulting." Daniel froze. "What? Why didn't you say anything?" Sophia gave a small smile. "I've been here for 3 years, Daniel. I kept hoping someone would notice how much I contribute. But it never happened. Orion is offering me a leadership role. It's the recognition I've been looking for." Daniel felt a wave of regret. He had never realized how undervalued Sophia felt. She had been one of the company's most valuable employees. But because she never demanded attention, he had taken her for granted. Desperate to keep her, he asked, "What if we match the offer? We can give you the leadership position here." But Sophia had already made up her mind. "I appreciate that, but it's too late. You only see my value now that I'm leaving." That night, Daniel reflected on his mistake. He had always assumed that quiet employees who never complained were content. But silence didn't mean satisfaction, it often meant frustration without a voice. After Sophia left, Daniel changed the way he managed his team. He started checking in with employees regularly, acknowledging their hard work, and ensuring promotions and raises were based on merit, not just on who was the loudest. It was a painful lesson, but he never forgot it. The best employees don't always ask for recognition, but if you don't give it, someone else will. The marketing campaign that backfired. Emma had always been known for her bold marketing ideas. As the head of digital marketing at Novabites, a fast-growing plant-based food company, she was constantly looking for ways to stand out. One day, her team came up with a viral campaign idea, a social media challenge, where people would film themselves throwing away meat products and switching to Novabites plant-based alternatives. The slogan, "Ditch meat, save the planet." Emma was thrilled. "This is edgy. It'll get people talking," she told her team. The campaign launched with influencers leading the challenge. Posting dramatic videos of themselves throwing away burgers, steaks, and even full plates of food. At first, engagement skyrocketed. The campaign was trending, and Novabites was being discussed everywhere. But then, the backlash started. "This is wasteful. Why not donate the food instead of throwing it away? Shaming people for eating meat won't make them switch. This is just bad marketing. I was considering trying plant-based food, but now I never will." Within 48 hours, the campaign had gone from viral success to a PR disaster. Customers flooded Novabites' page with angry comments, and longtime supporters boycotted the brand. Even environmental activists criticized them for promoting food waste. Emma realized her mistake too late. She had focused so much on grabbing attention that she hadn't considered the message they were sending. The CEO called an emergency meeting. "Emma, we need damage control fast." Emma immediately pulled the campaign and issued a public apology, admitting that the message had been poorly thought out. She also announced a new initiative. Novabites would partner with food banks to donate plant-based meals. Over the next few months, the company worked hard to rebuild trust. Sales eventually recovered, but the experience left a mark on Emma. She had learned an important lesson. A viral campaign is only successful if it connects with people, not if it divides them. The business trip that changed everything. Daniel had always believed that numbers told the whole story. As a senior analyst at Orion Automotives, he spent his days examining data, reviewing reports, and making profit-driven recommendations to improve efficiency. When his company announced plans to outsource manufacturing to another country, Daniel supported the decision. The data was clear: moving production overseas would reduce costs by 20%. It was a simple business choice, and he saw no reason to question it. To finalize the transition, Daniel was sent on a business trip to visit the company's new supplier. In Southeast Asia, he expected a routine meeting, but the trip turned out to be nothing like he had imagined. The moment he arrived at the factory, he noticed the heat and noise. Inside, workers sat in long rows, assembling car parts by hand under poor lighting. He saw a young man, probably no older than 18, struggling to keep up with the pace of the conveyor belts. During lunch, Daniel spoke with the factory's supervisor, who proudly explained how they kept wages low to maximize production. Workers were paid barely enough to live on, and shifts lasted 12 hours with minimal breaks. Daniel felt a knot in his stomach. On paper, outsourcing had looked like a smart financial move. But standing inside the factory, he realized the true cost of cheap labor. That evening, he sat in his hotel room, thinking, this wasn't just a business decision anymore, it was a moral one. When he returned to headquarters, Daniel spoke up. He presented his usual data, but this time he added something different: photos and personal accounts. From the factory visit, he told the leadership team, yes, outsourcing will save money, but at what cost to human dignity? His words sparked a heated debate, but eventually, the company decided to find ethical alternatives. They partnered with a new supplier that paid fair wages, ensuring that cost-cutting wouldn't come at the expense of workers' well-being. For the first time in his career, Daniel realized that business wasn't just about numbers, it was about people. A good business decision isn't just profitable, it's responsible. The partnership that almost broke the company. Lena had always been ambitious. As the co-founder of Brightbloom, a growing skincare brand, she had worked tirelessly to build the company from a small online shop into a recognized beauty brand. But growth required funding, and that was something Brightbloom desperately needed. One day, an investment firm, Horizon Capital, approached her with an offer. They were willing to invest $3 million into Brightbloom in exchange for a 40% stake in the company. With that money, Lena could finally expand to retail stores, hire more staff, and launch a new product line. It seemed like the perfect opportunity. Her business partner, Eva, wasn't convinced. Lena, we need to be careful. Giving up 40% means we lose control over big decisions. Lena waved off the concern. This is how companies grow. Eva, we can't do everything alone. Excited by the possibilities, Lena signed the deal. At first, everything went smoothly. Brightbloom received the investment and expanded rapidly. But within 6 months, problems started appearing. Horizon Capital wasn't just an investor, they wanted control. They pushed for cheaper ingredients to increase profits. Even though Brightbloom had built its reputation on using high-quality natural ingredients, they cut marketing budgets for sustainability campaigns, claiming they were too expensive. Lena fought back. Our customers trust us because of our quality. If we change that, we lose everything. But it didn't matter. With 40% ownership, Horizon Capital had the power to overrule her decisions. Within a year, customer complaints increased. Long-time buyers noticed the change in quality and began leaving negative reviews. Sales dropped, and Bright Bloom's reputation suffered. Lena felt helpless. She had built this company from nothing, and now she was losing control of it. One evening, Eva walked into her office. "Lena, I know how much this hurts, but we have to fix this. We need to buy back our shares." Lena knew Eva was right, but it wouldn't be easy. They spent months negotiating, using every bit of profit and outside funding they could gather. Finally, after a long and painful battle, they bought back a majority stake. Horizon Capital was out, and Bright Bloom was theirs again. It took another year to rebuild their reputation, but they did it. Standing in their new office, Lena turned to Eva. "Never again. No amount of money is worth losing control of what we built." She had learned a lesson the hard way. The wrong partnership can cost more than money. It can cost you your vision.